I remember doing an episode like, what is conversion optimization? Because that's a term I was using that nobody really understood what it meant. And I was just able to like, identify that, okay, we're selling this program for $9,000. Everyone makes $9,000. Everyone. So they're learning all of
Hey there, everyone. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Female Empowered. I am super stoked today to have a returning guest on my podcast. Claire Pelletreau is here with us, and I wish I would have done my research and searched at which episode she was in last time by podcast number, but I cannot figure it out. You know what? I will look for it while we're on here, and if you have not listened to the last episode Claire was on, it was great. I will at least link it in the show notes of what episode it was. But Claire, would you please introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what it is that you do.
Absolutely. First off, thank you so much for having me back, Krista. You are just one of my favorites. I'm going to spoil it right now. Krista's one of my fabulous clients. And it has been a pleasure to work with you. So what I do is I help small business owners, primarily people who have some kind of scalable offer, like an online course or a membership or a group coaching program. I help them to get more eyeballs on their offers, more leads, in other words, into their funnels, and then convert them. I'm also the creator and host of the Get Paid podcast, where I ask people, how much money do you make and how do you do it? And what do you pay yourself? And I make people nice and uncomfortable, but it is so much fun. We really get into the behind the scenes and the reality of running an online business.
That is, it's one of the things I loved about your podcast, because I do think there is, I don't want to say it's all misinformation, because there is definitely a ton of misinformation out there, but there's also a lot of real behind this, like the nitty gritty of how much did you bring in? How much did you actually get to keep? And how much did you spend to bring that in? So, I know people all the time that say, oh, I have a 7-figure business. Does that mean they have 7 figures over 10 years? Does that mean they have 7 figures but spent 8 figures in their business? Like, what does that actually mean? And so I love listening to your podcast. And I will say, I still sometimes am flabbergasted at the money some people generate and earn in very intricate niches.
Oh, I know.
Right?
I love it.
Yes. Where you're like, I would never have thought about that. And they're being very successful out there. So here, some people are like, oh, nobody will buy that. And somebody else is generating $500,000 in revenue from people that want to learn how to journal.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that episode amazing? That one just came out.
It's so amazing. So amazing.
Yeah. So literally like helping people doodle their emotions. This woman made $500K last year.
It was amazing. Go listen, if anything, even pause this episode right now, look for the Get Paid Marketing Podcast. And
Get Paid Podcast.
Get Paid Podcast. It's a great episode. I'm on there at some point, but
yes, you are. It was such a good show.
Oh, that was a great show. And I just want, I brought Claire back on for a few reasons. One, she really knows her shit when it comes to marketing and ad spend. So I don't deal a lot with people that don't know their shit. So when I find someone that does, I just want to bring them to my audience and like say, there's people out there that really know what they're doing. So I joined her Get Paid Marketing mastermind, GPM. And it really taught me, and I told Claire this, what helped me was I already knew I had a pretty good handle of like who my ideal customer was, what I was good at. My systems were decent, what I was having a really hard time with was getting that in front of more people and understanding what the metrics meant. And I get this in my business all the time where people are like, well, I don't understand my numbers, so I'm just not going to look at them. And I think I fell into that category with my Facebook ads. Like, I don't understand the metrics, so I just can't do it. And one of the things that Claire really helped me with was understanding, knowing enough that if I decided I wanted to outsource them again, I had enough knowledge and power that I could at least be on top of that. And so that's one of the things I thought was fabulous, or is fabulous, about your program. It's like, no, it is what it is. It's like you give us all the information and then you hold us accountable for learning that information, which has been great. So tell us a little bit about, because I know that initially when I joined GPM, you were kind of transitioning from what you were initially offering with like Lead Lab and all that stuff, and transitioning into kind of like a full marketing suite, so to speak. You weren't just talking about Facebook ads. So do you want to talk a little bit about what that transition was like for you, even leading up to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So for many years, I mean, I started my business, I went full-time in my business in 2014, and it was actually just at the beginning of that year that I started it. So I was full-time pretty quickly. And I mean, for the entire course of my business, I have focused on paid traffic. Started with Facebook ads. We added Instagram ads. I used to have experience with Google ads, Google AdWords, Display Network. I have dabbled a little bit in TikTok and Reddit and things like that. Always paid traffic though. And what I was seeing a lot of the times, especially as the ad landscape changed, it used to be that you could really put money into an ad that was for something like just so, and you could probably make a decent, you could probably get a decent return from that because ad costs were just so low. So you could get people on a webinar, you could get thousands of people on a webinar for maybe $1,000, right? And then from there, because there just weren't that many webinars around, there weren't that many people offering the kinds of offers that we see all the time now, you could pretty much bet that like a good percentage of those people, if they came to the webinar, watched the replay, were going to buy. So you could spend a lot less money. You didn't have to be a whiz at converting people, but you could still make the numbers work for you. Over the years, there've just been more and more kind of updates to that landscape. And I mean updates like Facebook just, changing where you can run ads. There were no video ads when I started teaching ads. Instagram stories didn't exist then. So there have been those kinds of changes. Then you have had just like an influx of people coming in and being like, well, I want to get a piece of this awesome pie too. I want to put in $1 and get 3 or 4 or 5 out. So more and more people come in and they're like, sure, Facebook, take my money. And then on top of that, in 2021, Apple, the company Apple that makes your iPhones and your tablets and your computers, they decided that, okay, we're going to prioritize privacy for our users. So we're going, every time somebody downloads the Instagram app, we're going to ask them, would you like the other apps on your phone to be able to track your like what you're doing there? And most people are like, no, thank you. I don't want to be tracked. And so that made it so much harder for Facebook's algorithm to really find the right people for you because they were dependent upon that so much. Okay, so this is a really long way of saying like Facebook ads have gotten really fucking hard. They were never super easy to begin with, but they have gotten more complex and people have seen diminishing returns. So what became super apparent for me in 2021, because also I want to say that we were already going down this like river of diminishing returns back in 2019, but the pandemic hit. A lot of advertisers pulled their money from the platform because they were like, well, fuck, we can't go and do like in-person stuff anymore. or we're going to have to slash our team, like all these reasons, a lot of people left the Facebook ad marketplace. So costs got really cheap. People started saving money by not going out. So they were buying more online programs and things like that, and leggings and whatever. And so those trends from 2019 went away. But 2020 was like this 1 year. And then in 2021, things start to really change. The returns start to really diminish. And what we saw was, one, people are leaving their houses, thank the Lord. And two, your copy, your offer, your messaging, in order to convert cold traffic, meaning people who were just scrolling on Instagram and saw your ad, it really had to be a lot better than it used to be. So what I kept hearing is things aren't working anymore. Facebook ads don't work anymore. Funnels don't work anymore. Launches don't work anymore. Like, raise your hand if you just recently saw an ad that said evergreen funnels and launching doesn't work anymore, but I have the answer. I'm like, yeah, okay, friend. But it was like every one of my clients, they were able to get good ad results because I was still teaching the same thing. I was still teaching, run an ad to this kind of funnel, and then you'll get people to buy. Their ads would perform in the sense that they could get people to sign up for stuff, free stuff, really great things, but then they couldn't actually get them to become customers. So what we saw is we need to help people with a lot more than just the ad part. Like, I'm brilliant at teaching people how to run ads. My clients are really great and creative, but writing conversion copy that gets people to really like shift their beliefs and then therefore shift their actions, it's a skill. So what we decided is, okay, we need to give people like a ton of access to our brains. We need to get my copywriter's eyes on all of our clients' work, from the sales page to the emails to the ad copy, all of it. And we also introduced a few new strategies that I had tested. This all basically was me taking a program that already existed that had a much smaller scope, and that was the Lead Lab, and us repackaging it a little to make it higher touch, more expensive, but also much more effective in getting our clients results. So that was that shift in me really just being a Facebook ad expert to somebody who can just help like with the entire funnel. And a funnel, not necessarily like an evergreen webinar funnel. I just call a funnel from like when they're seeing your business for the first time to when they're becoming a customer.
The whole process from like start to finish.
Can I make that story any longer, Krista? I don't know.
No, I think you can make it longer, because there's probably a lot of feeling that went involved. Because I'm sure you weren't just like, oh yeah, we're just going to change the Lead Lab that I've been teaching for X amount of years, and now this is going to be this new program. I would imagine that there was like a thought process behind that of like, oh, now what am I going to do? How am I going to, am I wrong? Or are you superhero and you just were able to snap that button and transition?
No, I actually had like a huge freak out.
Yeah.
Maybe I can make this story longer. So, there was a time, I want to say it was like early Q3 of 2021, where I had to have these conversations with my clients, like, everything that you've been taught that will work for you is probably not going to work anymore. Mm-hmm. This funnel that you paid $10,000, $20,000 to learn how to build, at best, you're going to break even on your ads. And that's a good thing. Like, I had to say all these things that nobody wanted to hear. I had to burst all of these bubbles. And I found that when I was getting people applying for this program, like in Q3, I was really hesitant to actually sell to them. And I couldn't really figure out why. Eventually, I realized it was because my clients were getting like this one level of results, but they weren't getting what the program promised, which was get paid to grow your list, I think, right? They were growing their list, but if they were making sales, it was like very, very few. If they're spending 100, maybe they're making 5 back. That's not the kind of get paid to grow your list that I was really talking about. And I just stopped selling it. I kept delivering it, but I stopped selling it. And also like, this is when the whistleblower stuff came out about like Facebook knowing that Instagram causes, mental health issues in 15-year-olds. And it was like, what am I doing? This is my life's work. And so I actually launched Get Paid Marketing, which is the program that you're currently in. I launched it as a mastermind. Like, I can help you with a bunch of different things. Facebook ads is one of them, but it can help with your launches. It can help with your sales page. It was like no promise. We didn't promise anything because I didn't feel like I could promise anything. And we got 7 people to join. And then the next time we like properly launched it, I had more of a promise, which was, okay, like, well, no, I think even Krista, the time that you originally joined, it was like, hey, this podcast ad strategy that I'm teaching people is great. People are using this workshop magic strategy to like make back their investment. So like, it's pretty safe if you join. We can still my messaging was still kind of all over the place, but we knew like, okay, get leads in and help you convert them. But it was really when I joined this mastermind, or, group program, I don't know what you call it, called 200K. The coach is Stacey Bayman. And I had been listening to her podcast around the beginning of 2022 and realizing, because she talks about getting your clients 100% results, I was like, oh my God, I'm not doing that at all. So I was listening to her podcast as soon as she opened up like early enrollment for this $25,000 coaching program. I gave her my money and I was like, okay, great. And what I really learned about is how to figure out exactly what I could promise, and then sell that in a really clear, simple way. I think a big thing that changed for me in Q3 and Q4 of 2022, especially, was how I simplified my marketing. So I remember doing an episode like, what is conversion optimization? Because that's a term I was using that nobody really understood what it meant. And I was just able to like, identify that, okay, we're selling this program for $9,000. Everyone makes $9,000. Everyone. So they're learning all of these other things for free. We didn't promise you will 10X or 20X or any X your investment. We said, you will make this back. And so you're going to learn how to master Facebook ads. You're going to get like a marketing plan. You're going to optimize your sales page, your launches, everything for free. And when I was able to identify that, oh my gosh, I could sell this program to a polar bear because it felt so easy. And then I had the best launch. We got 20 people in. We had people like, please let me in. I know it's full, but can I get in anyway? Which we said no to. And it was just easy, Krista. It was the easiest thing I've ever done.
I love it. I love it. There's so much there to unpack. So let me see what I want to unpack first.
Great.
Number one, I would say what I took from that was also that you recognized the first time you did GPM. So did you change Lead Lab and kind of skew that into GPM? Is that what I'm understanding? Like you kind of took what the Lead Lab was and then made it
amplified it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But I did continue delivering GPM exactly as it was. I didn't merge the people into the new offer. Like I just kept delivering GPM and what we were offering there, because like we were still giving our eyes on like their sales pages and stuff, but not as many. So I wasn't going to, we didn't like grandmother them in or anything.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was really a very similar structure, just with like more content and my copywriter, Sarah Lucille, looking at a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I like though, that you said was you didn't even know, you were just like, we'll do this. And then you tested it. Right. So you ran really two launches, GPM, the first one that you had 7. And then the second one where I which I think what, 12
12.
or
Mhm.
12. So those first two, you kind of did before Stacy's program, right? Or like kind of in the middle where you're still figuring it out. But I love
Mhm.
that you said, I just did it. And it took you 2 launches plus some learning with Stacy Bayman about, I do have something here that I have to offer. And I hear what you're saying about you weren't sure what the, I'm going to do this in quotes, like guarantee was, because everyone's
Mhm.
looking for like, what's your program promise and what's your guarantee? And I said, to me, it wasn't 10 times in my revenue. That's not what I joined the program for. I joined the program for 2 reasons. One, I wanted to be in the room with you. I wanted to learn from you. So it was literally you, number one. And that was having, first of all, I was in Jerisha Hawk's leverage. So, and I, Shantae, and those are 2 people I respect and they respect you. And hence I was like, these have to be part of my people by osmosis, right? And 2, what I got out of it was less than revenue, right? It was more knowledge. So
Mm.
that's like, for me, I got out. Now I can look into Facebook ads. I could understand what I can teach someone on my team. This is what I'm looking at. I go in my ads manager right now and I don't have a stress reaction. I'm like, oh no, I'm going over here and I'm going to toggle my clicks and performance. And then I'm going to toggle by delivery. And then I'm by placement. I've actually know what these things mean now. And that is super empowering to me. And and I'm a 7-figure business owner. So like knowing that and recognizing I'm not in that limiting belief where some people even talk about their numbers. And I'm like, I just thought of that about Facebook. I was like, I don't know what's going on in there. They change the interface all the time. And that was confusing to me. And so that's even more than 10 times your revenue. That's what I wanted to learn from your program. And that's what I got out of it. And now I'm even learning more, which is why I re-upped for the next one. So I love that you said that you did it anyways, because I think a lot of people would sit back and be like, it's not perfect. I don't know what I'm offering. What can I promise? I'm taking these people money. They're going to think I'm a fraud. And you learned a lot in that time frame. So I think that's great. What about then? So what about Stacy's program? So, and again, we'll link up Stacy Bayman's program and her podcast in the show notes. What do you think about that program? And I know you have been transparent about this, like on your Instagram and stuff. What was some of the shifts that happened to you to have the end of 2022 be as amazing as it was for you?
Yeah. So the first thing that I did when I joined her program, I got like 6 months of access to the portal, just like the members area, the videos, the content, without any coaching, without any access to Stacy or anybody else. Like that's the deal. First, the way I signed up for pre-enrollment, this is the deal. You get that. And then it starts and you get 6 more months with support and stuff.
And you pay up front, correct? Well, you have a payment plan, but like you're
only
not
in
like getting
pre-enrollment. There's only a payment plan in pre-enrollment, which means by the time the live event kicks off, which is how they jumpstart the mastermind, the 6 months, you're paid up.
Got it. But they're not giving you that 6 months for free and getting access to the modules. You're paying for that just without coaching.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Got it.
But
So
I'm not paying extra. I'm paying what anyone would pay for the whole mastermind. And I essentially got 6 months free with the content.
Got it.
And so the biggest thing that I really took away from the free content, from that time with her modules was like, okay, I need to learn to sell myself on my programs. So I didn't even have the promise, but I still knew like why. At that point, I knew like, okay, GPM is really great. I have these really great clients. They're renewing. And I also have this other offer that like people got insane results from. So like, okay, I could sell myself on that. But it was really when I got into the room, that's, the physical room with people who, the coaching that I got like on the very first day, now like 7 months ago was, I said this thing, like, I feel like my results the results I get from my clients don't match my reputation. Because in this particular group, a lot of them have learned from Brooke Castillo, and Brooke Castillo she has included my name in like her materials as somebody to learn ads from for a really long time. So in this room, I was like semi-famous just because my name I thought it was just because my name had been used a lot, mentioned a lot. I got coaching around that just recently. But what I walked away with was like this understanding of all these people who I had helped that just weren't vocal about it, and how a lot of my marketing has actually been speaking to people who are not what Stacy calls your best clients. Like Krista, you are the perfect example of a best client because you want to learn. You also don't expect that things work the first time. You have done incredible things with your business without any coaching or with like a very minimal courses. You know, that's really the best client. If I am trying to convince somebody to learn ads and run ads themselves, who would rather like swallow nails than do that, then like try. I mean, there's some mindset stuff that I am now able to help people shift about like whether or not it's actually hard to set up and launch an ad. And I think you've maybe seen some of my clients say, I can't do it. The thought of it is too much. And then they just actually go through the materials and they're like, oh, this is actually okay.
Yeah.
But if somebody's just like, no, that's not how I want to be spending my time, and yet I'm trying to convince them, that is a huge waste of my time and also not likely to work. Whereas if I focus my marketing and sales on the people who are just waiting for me to kind of say the right thing or make it feel, this is something I learned about also, making it's safe for them to buy, then the selling, that it just like, it reaches the right people. But I was just always focusing on, you know, like the 90% or so of my followers I had all these thoughts about them too. I had all these thoughts that they have no money. They only want free stuff. They're never going to be successful. Oh my God. I had so many thoughts about the life coaches that Brooke Castillo was sending my way because I didn't know about any of the life coaches that were silently taking my course and getting incredible results. So when you don't know about the impact of your work, you think it has no impact. And that makes it very difficult to sell. Very difficult when you think that you're asking people to give you money and it's actually all like for a lie, and that only unicorns actually get results.
Right. Yeah.
So
I mean, I will
whole
tell
new world
you,
in my brain.
I will tell you, and this has been something that you helped me work on too, like being vulnerable and being true about what I have achieved. Because I had this whole thing wrapped up of like, people are going to think I'm conceited, and you don't talk about money. You don't talk about how successful you are. You don't talk about what you have achieved. And when you were honest about the mindset that you had gone through, I would say it resonated with me a lot, because then I could still see, I saw myself in you as well, because I do know, of course, I vet almost everyone I work through, because I'm like, well, is there going to teach me something I don't know? That's really what I want to learn, right? And I never want to be the smartest one in the room. That's one of the things I've learned in all my masterminds. Like, I want to learn. I can contribute, but I also want to learn from people. And so one of the reasons I signed up with you was I did see some of the people you had worked with, and I did know who some of these people were, not personally, but being like, okay, well, if Claire's working with these people, she must be doing something right, because that wouldn't fly naturally. And for you to come clean even after that and said, I was insecure about what I was selling, I wasn't sure. Then I was like, oh my God, she has the same self-limiting beliefs and doubts as everyone else. And this is just a shared experience that we can go through, because I know that you're going to work just is equally as hard. Like we're all in the same place, no matter where we are on the revenue line, right? We could be 8 figures in revenue and still have the same thoughts in our head. We could be 6, we could be 5 figures. So I thought that was very powerful. So I really thank you for being vulnerable enough to say, like, I was self-doubting myself and all of this. And I'm super happy with the program.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
There was like nothing worse for me than launching or doing a live webinar. It was so painful. I was really good at the teaching part, really good, but like the selling, I just like, I never, ever, ever thought that like I am doing people a service by telling them about this. I don't know about you, Krista, but I know a lot of my clients have bought other Facebook ad courses. And like, I really did people a huge disservice by not letting them know that like, now what I really believe is that mine is the best one because of how step-by-step it is.
Yeah.
And like, I now understand, and yeah, this is being totally conceited or whatever, but like, I did people a huge disservice by just like not launching that course very much, or keeping it kind of hidden, or still happens now in person when people are like, should I take your course? And I'm like, I think about how much revenue they've made already. And I'm like, oh no. But of course they should. Am I crazy? A little bit.
Isn't that an amazing thing? Like, isn't that it's such an interesting mindset shift, because I have taken other Facebook courses, right? We talked about this on your podcast. I worked with a very reputable agency who did not have my campaign objective right, that I was paying. I probably paid $30,000 to. So my point is, but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying when you're like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. I will tell you, I love your program. Maybe this is just me, right? I don't need handholding. I am an action taker. I will do the work, but I also don't need to, I need to know, like, if you tell me the work, like if you give me, and you don't have to sit with me on the phone, but if you give me the module, I'll go look at it and follow it step by step. What I was finding in all these other ones, it was just so much, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it wasn't how to, it was more like conceptual
theory.
Like, I don't need the theory. I understand the theory. I need you to tell me, what does my campaign objective look like?
Oh yeah.
What
And
that's
not in them.
Doing?
What's an ads course if it doesn't talk about that?
They tell you like, oh, this campaign objective means this. But if I was like, okay, if I want to lead gen, if I want to build my leads, what type of campaign objective should I have? Where should my pixel be? Like, the podcast ads have been fabulous for me. They've been great. Right. So that was something. And again, they weren't working initially. If you remember, we went through them and they were like, hi. And then we just tweaked a few things. Now they're amazing. Right.
And I'm so happy. I totally remember being like, God damn it. What are we going to do about Krista's podcast ads? Because it matters to me. You invest, you pay me a lot of money, and I want you to not only learn, I want you to get results too.
I get it.
You're just like the perfect example of because unfortunately, which is actually unfortunately, a lot of my clients launch ads and do really well off the bat. And so then there's no learning for them.
Right.
But you're the perfect example of like, okay, well, I have to learn to read this data and then try some other things. And you learned so much on the last call that you decided to do something that I would never recommend that anyone do, but based on the data, you were like, oh, I'll give it a try. And now it's killing it.
Yeah, it worked. For me, I will say I went through this in my like business journey, recognizing like, it doesn't always have to be about the sale. Like, it doesn't always, obviously that's the end result. That's what we're all trying to leverage. But there could be things that we do in our business that, it's like when I tell my son, like, why you learn chemistry, right? There's something, will you ever do chemistry? Maybe, maybe not, but there's something to be said about sitting in a classroom, doing the projects, learning the work. Like, you build muscle that way, right? So for me to get out of my comfort zone, to say, I can learn how to do this, I can say I'm not going to throw up in the air and be like, it didn't work. What can we tweak? What do we know is true? And what can we do on the other side that maybe it is a variable that we can improve upon? And so for me, I was like, let me just get these running. And then that's just a piece of like the puzzle. And then we'll get this other piece of the puzzle running. Sometimes I just sit on the calls. I don't even have questions. I just listen to what other people say. And I was like, oh, that's a good thing. I'm going to mark that down. So, one of the things I'd love for you to maybe share, well, are you okay if I put you on the hot seat about revenue in 2022? You
Oh my
talked
gosh,
about it
it's
on
my
your
best.
podcast.
It's
You
my
talked
best
about
year yet. So please,
I
let's
know.
talk about it.
You talked about it on your own podcast. So I know that, okay. So in 2022, what were the products that you sold? All of the products. So absolute Facebook ads, whatever programs you sold.
So yeah, Get Paid Marketing is the main revenue one. I mean, that was something like, I actually don't know the breakdown, but I made 450,000 last year. Right. And, GPM, I did 186 in the fall, something like 90 in the spring. And then I had maybe another 50K from like people, either like old payment plans from the Lead Lab or like people who joined people who joined Get Paid Marketing, like in between launches. There were a couple of those. And then Absolute FB Ads, which is my self-study ads course, which is actually the course that you use.
Yeah.
Like, I should say that Krista learned the podcast ads and all of these things from Absolute FB Ads. So that makes up the rest of it. And that one was 850. No, yeah, it was 850 for most of the year, but the majority of the sales came in a launch
at the end
for 1,200. And now the price has gone up to 2,500.
Okay. So in 2023, are you still selling the Lead Lab?
Nope.
Okay. You're selling GPM.
Yep.
And Absolute Facebook Ads, which is a self-study. The price went up. So it's really 2 programs. Is that correct?
That's it. 2 offers.
Okay. And what's your revenue goal for 2023?
$1 million.
Awesome. And she made close to $500,000 in 2022. All right. And she's killing it in 2023. I think I even sent you a message on the first call when I saw all those faces, and I was like, I'm just so happy for you. I'm like, so happy for you. I saw some people are returning, some people are new. I'm super happy for you and Sarah Lucille and Kia and everyone else as part of the program. So of that 450,000 revenue, gross sales, do you know off the top of your head what your expenses were?
No, that's in my podcast episode.
It is. I think I remember.
But I do know that I was very surprised to learn during that podcast episode that I paid myself $260,000.
Okay, so that's probably most of what people want to hear. Do you pay yourself on payroll, like as an employee?
I'm on payroll, but almost none of that money actually hits my bank account because it's basically going towards taxes. Yeah. And I will say that what I paid myself last year, this is what I remember from that call, where we recorded the end of year podcast episode. 260 plus my expenses is actually more, probably at least 60,000 more than my revenue. So I had a lot of business savings going into 2022, and we bought a house. So I pulled a lot out of my business. So that's why, like, it's technically, it would be considered in the red, but like, if you just look at expenses and taxes, and it's all good. Yeah. It was actually my most profitable year as well.
Yeah. And how do you feel going into 2023?
I feel really good. Like, it's a big goal, but I'm actually focusing on the first 2 quarters.
Yeah.
To make 500K in those 2 quarters. And the plan that we have is completely doable.
Yeah. Then you'll be on track. So, well, I could literally talk to you for hours and hours and hours, because I always have so many questions. Before you go, I think I have one final question I think would be very interesting for the audience to know. And you don't have to say necessarily names, but can you tell like some of the intricate niches and like that have come into your orbit, into your programs, and like things like we
Kitchen
had someone
design.
yes, exactly. And we've had like how to break up with your ex or how to get
Oh
over
my
your
gosh.
ex.
That's yeah, I love that. How to get over your ex, kitchen, like how to prep for your kitchen redesign. Um,
Gardening or
gardening. Yep. Well, yeah, then there's the one that's kind of like self-coaching using journaling and
yep.
doodling. Comic book, like like comic book classes or graphic novel online courses,
ceramics, pottery.
ceramics. I mean, we do have a lot for like we do have a lot of B2C. We have plenty of B2B as well.
Lots of B2B. Yeah. I just think it's interesting for people to realize like there's businesses out there like that are in niches that like are still can be uber successful,
mm-hmm.
you know, and can learn how to use, you know, paid ads, paid traffic to grow their business.
Mm-hmm. How to interpret your dreams. That's somebody. Oh my gosh, their ads were killing it. Oh, how to sleep train your baby.
Great one.
Another one that's killing it. Yeah, it's totally,
Amazing
I mean,
stuff.
it is.
Yeah.
It really is.
So where can people find you if they want to pay you money?
That's my favorite question. You know
I love
that.
that. That's why I was like, I'm going to ask her this on my podcast. Where can people find you if they want to pay you money?
So you can go, what I recommend you do is go check out my podcast. It's called the Get Paid Podcast. If you search Get Paid Claire, you'll probably spell Claire anyway, but mine is CLAIRE. In whatever app you use to listen to podcasts, you'll find it. That's where we do all the announcements of, you know, like we have this, we're opening enrollment or taking applications or things like that. The other place you could go is follow me on Instagram, and then you'll get retargeted with our ads. I don't post very much on Instagram. When I do, it's like really random. But that is intentional because I am now, as Stacy says, or Brooke Castillo says, I'm not sure, a product of my product, which is I don't worry about posting on social because I use ads to let you know when you can get free stuff from us, paid stuff, whatever. So I'm on Instagram. I am at Claire Pells.
Mm-hmm. And we'll link all of that up in the show notes, and definitely go check out her podcast. I listen to it when it comes out on my walks with my little pup. I listen to it all the time. I love it. So, well, Claire, thank you so much for coming back on the call. I really hope I was really interested, and thank you for sharing your story about like your up level in 2022. And I know that 2023 is going to be amazing for you as well. And people go check out her podcast and screenshot it, maybe send her a DM. And until next time, my friends, bye for now.
Bye.